Whilst we wait for Janus Towers, this is how you get every single piece of intel in Black Ops 6 Zombies for every single map thus far. So for Terminus, there is a lot here. So the first one can be found for the hard way, and this is located in the interrogation rooms on these shelves with the VHS tapes. Moving along, we have doctor's orders that can be found in the communications room. Buy these computers here, collect that there. Furthermore, in the control center, you can find the ship Manifest Destiny just by this box here on the corner of this table. Collect that there. Now we have working theory, which can be found in the living quarters just by this bed here on this table. Collect that there. In addition, we have in the biolabs limb regrowth specimen, which can be located just here on this table by all of these specimens. In the biolabs, there is another spot here as well, just by this laptop here, so collect that one there. Also, in the mess hall, we can find food for thought, again located on top of this desk here. Collect that there. Now for the red tape location, this can be found in the sea caves right in this corner behind the vines. Collect that there. If you make your way over to the shipwreck, you can find numbers and faces located on this presumably oil barrel right here. Collect that one. Now we have tougher than she looks. This one can be found in the holding cells located right next to the elevator. Collect this one here on top of this box. Now we have listen by this ominous pulsating machine, which you can collect right here in the sea tower. We then have a noble purpose, which can be found inside of the mining tunnels. If you make your way by Mr. Peaks' gobblegum machine, you can find it by these barrels here. Collect that. Now for Surveyor Says, this one can be found on Temple Island just by this skeleton. For the side Easter egg you can do, so go ahead and collect that there. Moving on, we have pleasing results, which can be located in the security overlook on top of this barrel here. A lot of barrels apparently. Collect that there. I hope you're watching can be found by the seaside path just on top of here at the base of this concrete pillar. Collect that there. Now for the beam smasher intel, this can be found obviously for crafting the beam smasher. If you don't know how to do this, I'll have a link to a guide in this video's description. I'm obviously not going to re-explain it all since it's quite lengthy, and you can also find a link on screen to where you can get that. Now for code words can be replayed, this one again is in the biolabs in the central by this command center, so go ahead and collect that one there by the generator. Now for the actual code words one, this spawns in the center of the biolabs after you kill Nathan in the boss fight for the main quest. If you don't know how to get to this point in the main quest, again, I'll have a link to a guide in this video's description. Similarly, damning evidence after you have defeated Nathan, if you make your way over to the workshop to where there is the crashed ship underwater, you will find damning evidence. But yeah, you need to progress in the quest. Again, link to a guide in the description. Go ahead and collect that there. For the keycard, you need to do the main quest again, and after defeating Nathan, the keycard will fall into the water in the labs, so you just need to swim down and you can then collect the keycard. Again, there's a link in the description and on screen if you don't know how to do the main quest. For the hard drive item, this again can be unlocked during the main quest, linked to a guide in the description, and this can be gotten during the step in which you need to locate a tentacle trap that has an open vent where the tentacles obviously come from, and with the beam smasher you need to laser its mouth and keep doing that until it explodes, guts go everywhere, and you can collect that piece of intel there. Again, to get to this point, there's a link in the description to my guide explaining this a bit more in depth. Moving along, for subject file 704, this can be found on Temple Island in one of the dig sites. I believe it's not the same one every single time. I could be wrong on that, but just dig up the different dig sites located here with the shovel, and you should be able to find this piece of intel. For the subject 272 intel, once again, you need to dig, but this time over on Crab Island, and it'll be a random dig spot, so just dig all of them up, and one of them will contain the piece of intel. You should be able to get that. Just keep digging until you find it and then collect it. For the subject 511 document, once again you need to dig over on Crab Island, and one of these spots will contain this piece of intel. For the subject file 398 document, this one can be found again if you dig, but this time over on Castle Rock Island, and one of the dig spots will contain this document, so again, just keep digging them all up. You will of course need a shovel, which is easy to find. On the horizon can be found on the gun platform where there is is the ether laser, and you need to activate the void cannon trap, and this will unlock this piece of intel for you. To unlock innovative technology, if you come over to the C tower, you need to shoot these documents up here and it'll drop onto the ground, which you can collect nice and easily there. Shoot the paper stack in the C tower by the generator. In addition, to get uniquely qualified, if you come over to the guard station, look over at the security overlook on this lookout tower, you need to shoot up here until this piece of document falls from these documents above the tower to the right of the gobblegum machine, and you can go ahead and collect that document there. Last minute transfer can be found if you come over to the storage area and then make your way inside the mess hall. If you actually throw a grenade inside of this bin, that's how you collect this intel. So random. But yeah, after it explodes, you can then go ahead and collect that just down there. To get the talisman piece of intel, you need to obviously complete the cursed talisman side Easter egg to get the treasure hunter achievement. Again, if you don't know how to do this, I'll have a link to a guide in the description. Finally, for what have you done, this can actually be found if you kill 10 fish in the water, anywhere in the water. To locate the fish, you'll see some bubbles, and then you just need to basically explode them with a grenade, whether it be a Semtex, a regular grenade, a stun grenade. All of these should kill the fish, and after you've killed 10, you will be able to get this piece of intel. Moving on, all of the ones for Liberty Falls. There are 13 total. Firstly, in order to get the We Only Take Cash document, you need to explode the boot of one of 3 cars on the map. I'll be showing gameplay in the background of the 3 locations for this, but in only one of the cars will there be a Mr. Peaks bunny in the back of the car, which will indicate this is the one you need to explode. And you need to explode it either with a Mangler Cannon score streak or a mutant injection score streak, or you can lure a mangler to the location to get it to explode it. This will also give you some free loot, and the Mr. Peaks bunny will spawn in a number of rounds later as well, so you can do it again to get more loot. Now, to get the Thrustodyne Model 23 intel, to get this one you need to do the free Easter egg to get the jet gun. If you don't know how to do this, I'll have a link to a video in the description. We then have the scientist and the moonshiner radio. If you come over to the rooftop of the motor lodge, you will find it right here between the dresser and the cabinet, so go ahead and collect that there. We then have the house Josiah built, which is located by the cemetery, by the church just over on this wall here, so collect that. Now we have the Steel Mountain Rescue, a reference to Modern Warfare 3, which can be located by West Main Street just over here by the barriers in the corner. Collect that there. Now we have Quantum Mechanical Failure. This one can be located in Ollie's comic book shop itself, just down here by the barricaded window, so go ahead and collect that there. Now we have Politics. This can be located in the vault. If you don't know how to do this Easter egg, I'll have a link to a video in the description, but once you've managed to enter the vault itself, you can locate the intel from one of the safes. And whilst you're inside the vault, you can also get the Money Talks achievement. This one is not located in one of the safes, but it can be found right here in the corner, so go ahead and activate that. Now obviously all of these radios play in game, but just like Cold War, after you have collected them, you can listen to them in the menu. That's a lot clearer. Now to get the Mr. Peaks bowling shoes, to get this you need to do the side Easter egg to go bowling. Again, if you don't know how to do this, I have a link to a video in the description and on screen. Now to get the limited trans-dimensional gateway device, this can be located by assembling the LTG device that you do for the main quest on the map. Again, if you don't know how to do this, I'll have a link to a guide in the description. I just don't want to spend time, re-explaining a lot of guides that I've already done. For one lit match, this one will spawn in after speaking to Panos for the first time in the main Easter egg quest. Again, if you don't know how to do that, there's a link to a guide in the description, but you don't actually need to do the full quest to get this. This can be located if you make your way past the groundskeeper's yard. You will see it right over here on top of this wooden barrel. Collect that there. Now to get limited run, this one can be found by the riverside. If you make your way into Ollie's comic book shop, you will find it over in the corner on top of this wooden table thing. Collect that there. Now to collect Fine Man, this can be located by the riverside. If you're looking through the back here, you need to shoot these VHS tapes that you are seeing in the footage in the background, and once you have successfully shot them, all of the right ones, you will then get the Fine Man document that you can collect. Furthermore, there's another inside of Ollie's comic book shop. If you come over here, you can collect the final issue that can be located right here in this box of comic books. Now to find the conspiracy theory one, this can be located by Washington Avenue. Go ahead and collect this right next to Speed Cola there on the table. table. In addition, Bear Witness can be found in the Church in the Dark Ether, located on this bench in the corner right here. Collect that there. Last but not least, we have the Ether Ella statue that you can collect. So basically, there are different Ether Ella statues that you need to collect around the map. Of course, this is a side Easter egg that I've already posted a guide on as well, and you just need to suck them all up, and then you will unlock this artifact. Thirdly, how to get all of the intel on Citadelle Des Morts. Now, I'm going to go in order of where they appear within the intel menu, as I heard your complaints from the ones I did for the launch maps that it was harder to follow being out of order. But do let me know if you would prefer it this way, or alternatively, I can go from whichever ones are closest to spawn onwards, so you can do them consecutively. If you would prefer that, I can do that for the next DLC. Feedback out of the way, let's get into them. Firstly, for the audio logs. The very first piece you can find is called Good Afternoon, Mr. Richtofen. This is located on a crate next to the right entrance to the courtyard on the right side as you come into the village, so go ahead and collect that one there. Moving on, the second radio is you would have done the same. This can be found on the hillside ramparts on the box that's in the corner opposite of Elemental Pop. Moving on, we now have Historically Speaking. This can be found on the top floor of the tavern on top of this table here, right next to the pool table, so collect that there. Fourthly, we have Get It Done. If you head over to the Undercroft, you can find it on this table, right in the corner of the room. Furthermore, we now have the Do Your Damn Job audio log. This can be found in the entrance hall, so if you head in here, you need to shoot open this door and you can collect it from the left-hand side. In addition, we now have the Fair Enough radio. This one can be found in the dungeon by Quick Revive on this shelf right here, so collect that there. Now we have Survival of the Fittest. If you head over to the upper village, it's found next to the door here, right next to the ammo crate, so collect that there. Now we have the intel for the Foundling, which can be located on this nature path. If you come over here, it is right on top of this cobblestone wall, so go ahead and pick that up. Moving on, we have the New Horizons audio log. This one can be found within the sitting rooms, and you need to go to this archway right here next to the ammo crate, and that's where it is, so activate that. Finally, we have the last audio log, which is the 4 Knights Born Out of Wedlock. This one can be found in the dining hall. You need to make your way up the stairs to go to the top floor, and it's found above the ammo crate next to some rope, so go ahead and collect that there. Moving along, we now have the intel documents. There are only 4 of them. Firstly, we have the family book. This can be found if you blow up the hay in the barn next to the Deadshot Daiquiri perk in the hilltop, and this document is in French.
Fucking sticky. Marking location.
Furthermore, we have the Some Context document. In order to do this one, you need to fire yourself in the cannon back to spawn, and the document is on the roof of the tavern that you slide down. You need to hit interact as you slide near to it. This one is a bit tricky to do, so you need to really get the timing right, so it may take you many attempts to do this. Try to look at the document as you are attempting to grab it, but just keep at it and you should get it eventually. Now, if you don't know how to be able to actually fire yourself within the cannon, there is something you need to do. So after you have cranked the cannon that the game literally guides you towards, and then fired it to open up the keep, the crank actually goes to the spawn of the map. So you need to go back to the spawn and then collect the crank that you can see right here. There is another item you need to collect, and you can collect either of these items in any particular order. This item is the blowtorch and can be found in the dining hall room next to this oil right here. After you have collected these items, if you head all the way back to the castle walls, go through the courtyards up to the village ramparts and go back to the cannon, if you go up to it, you can place the items onto it, and now it allows you to crank the cannon so you can move it in either direction, so you can either fire yourself to the knight's room, or you can crank it back to before and send yourself back to spawn. Penultimately, we have the intake form document. This one can be obtained from the villager scent, specifically from the well, but in order to get this, you first need to wait for a vermin round to begin, and when a vermin round begins, you need to come up to the well, look and walk right by it until a vermin spider crawls out. You need to have it crawl out as a prerequisite in order to do this. Then all you need to do is throw a grenade into into the well and you will be granted 1,000 points for free, as well as the intel. You can also now deposit points into the well if you want to share with others or use the double points, up to 10,000. That resets every vermin round, which you can get back similarly by throwing a grenade in. Finally, we have the statuesque. This one can be found within the alchemical labs. You need to interact with these books until it drops. Once again, this is another French document. Now we have the artifacts. So for the artifacts, there are 5 that you literally just get for getting the base sword, and then there is 1 for acquiring every single one of the upgraded swords: Caliburn, Durendal, Balmung, and Solace. I will have a guide linked in the description if you don't know how to get every single one of these swords, but yeah, you need to get all of them in order to obtain these. This next artifact can be obtained from defeating the Guardian final boss fight in the main quest. So once again, like I said earlier, there's a guide linked in the description if you do not know how to complete the main quest, which is the Obscurus Attilium that you can collect from completing it. Currently though, it's bugged in the game, but hopefully by the time you're watching this video, it is amended. I will also keep you updated if this might be incorrect, but apparently it's bugged. The final artifact is the Space Race, and this one can be obtained for doing the bartending Easter egg. Once you've gotten in here, you can pick it up on the counter. I will have a guide again linked in the description if you do not know how to do the bartending Easter egg. And you may need to serve the zombies very quickly in order to get the intel to spawn, considering the name is called Space Race. I'm not 100% sure on that though. It may just spawn in every single time, but just try and do it as quickly as possible. Obviously that's better for you anyways because you'll get more points. Fourthly, how to get all of the intel on the tomb. First of all, we have Against the Wall. This one can be found by the Hierophants that you can collect just over here below the lantern. Collect that there. Secondly, we have Making a Monocle. This is located in the ossuary by where Speedcola is, next to this vase, so go ahead and collect that there. Moving along, we have the infamous Mr. Rhodes. This can be found in the spawn, the dig site, just atop this wooden box here, so go ahead and collect it from the crate. Of course, you can do these in any particular order at your own discretion in any games. Furthermore, in the mausoleum, we have Look at All the Bodies. This can be found right next to this lamp in the corner right here, on top of this bookshelf, so collect that there. In addition, we have Grave Robbers, which can be found in the tombs right by this statue in the Death Perception room, so collect that there, to the right side of the perk machine. Now we have the Knaves. This can be found next to the stairs in the temple, in the center room where you are placing the amulet to open the gateway, so collect that. Now we have Springtime. This can be found to the left of Stamina Up in the Hierophants, just underneath this torch here, so collect that one there, to the left of the statue. Now we have Deep Trouble. This can be found in the Deep Excavation, to the left side of Quick Revive, close to the ammo crate location. Moving along, we have Retirement Plan, which is in the dig site spawn room once again. If you just come up this pillar and jump up, you'll find it to the right of the ammo warbine next to the lamp on some of the crates, so go ahead and collect that there. Swiftly along, we have in the Catacombs the location for a fabrication. Make your way past Deadshot Daiquiri into the cave system and you'll find it just here by the vases and the candle and skeletons. But what about Tortured Artist? This one can be found in the Dark Ether Nexus, which if you don't know how to get into, the game literally guides you towards, but I'll have a video in the description if for some reason you're stuck. And it's found in the west of the map where the ruins are, just in this corner of this little temple that's been destroyed, on top of the brick wall. Collect that. Moving on, we now have the documents. We now have part 1 of Pots and Pains. This can be found in the Deep Excavation. You need to shoot this vase over here, which will drop the intel down, and you can then go ahead and pick that up, so collect that document there. We now have Pots and Pains part 2. You again need to shoot a vase down, and this one can be found in the Neolithian table above the Dark Ether portal, just on top of the wall up here, so go ahead and shoot that down and then collect it from the ground. Part 3 of Pots and Pains can be found in the Hierophants up on the ceiling above all of the different statues, so shoot that down and once again collect that there from the ground. Another Pots and Pains location, part 4. This is more difficult to actually find, as you need to do a Skull's Side Easter egg. So you need to apply Brain Rot to your weapon, and if you come over to the ossuary, you will see that there is a skull with an X on, and there are going to be 4 different skulls that you need to shoot in the specific order that the gameplay is showing in the background with brain rot. As you can see, it doesn't work if you don't do it in the right order. So the first one you need to shoot is in this pile just down here, then come back around to where there's the arrow traps and shoot this one here, go underneath the ether lamp back here, come by the well and shoot this one right here, then move towards the speed cola machine where there is a doppelganger statue and you can shoot this final one here, which will then cause a bunch of brain rotted zombies to spawn in for this little Easter egg, and they will go around the map killing everything, and it's just really helpful for you. They're resurrecting the dead. They will last a little while on the map, which is a good defense here. But anyways, if you then come into the ossuary, you can see part 4 of the pots and paints intel that you can then collect right here, and you can enjoy surviving with all of these brain rotted zombies for a while. They'll last longer than the usual ones do, and it's a bunch of fun, and you only get 1 activation for this, unfortunately. Now for the pots and paints part 5 intel document location, you get this one if you have death perception and you do the gemstone side Easter egg in order to get a free ray gun. Like, if you need help with that, there'll be a link in the description as well, but you'll get that from this. Now we have the artifact. So for the etheric lantern, what you need to do is you need to progress in the game until you activate the dark ether nexus where the ether lanterns spawn in, and you just need to shoot one of them and you will get the intel for it. For this next one, it is the Sentinel artifact itself, which you get for completing the main Easter egg, which I will have a guide for in the description once it is live if you need help in completing that, but you will get it for picking it up right at the end. We then have the monolith shard, and again you need to do the main quest for this, so again there'll be a link in the description if you need help with that. You get this crystal shard that drops from the first tower laser that hits the monolith. Moving along, we have the Staff of Ice itself. In order to do this, you need to craft the Staff of Ice, obviously. Again, if you don't know how to do this, I'll have a link to a guide in the description once it is live. We now have Sir Archibald's monocle. You just need to survive up until round 8, when an EMP mimic spawns in, and when you kill it, it will drop the monocle that you can collect. And finally, we have Alas, Poor Bernard. This is a Chaos Story reference and can be found in the Dark Ether Nexus, and you need to come over here by this Origins Mound where there's a skeleton and you can pick up his skull of his deceased body with the knife within its eye. Finally, how to get all of the intel on Shattered Vale. First of all, for bodily harm, it can be found by PhD on the tac map you can see on screen, and if you come over into the nursery, it's right in front of this piano that you can go ahead and interact with here. Moving along, we have Prime Time that can be found in the Pack-a-Punch room in the Sam room, just in front of these chairs here on these monitor devices, so collect that one there. Furthermore, we have the location for Spectre, which can be found at the top of the map. Come past double tap and it's inside the kitchen right here in the corner. Collect that there. We now have particulars that can be found in the service tunnel on top of these oil barrels, so you can get that one here. Swiftly along, we now have the obstacles intel, which can be found in the conservatory right in front of this computer screen that you can grab right there. In addition, we have a way in, which can be found by Shem's Hens right here. Come by Speed Cola by the canister holder, and it's to the left on this bench, so you can grab that one there. Next, we have Within Reach that can be found in the grand foyer in the mansion itself. If you come up the stairs, you will find it just on top of this box next to the fire extinguisher, so you can grab that there. Panos is back with cracking eggheads. This can be found in the motor court if you come by the crashed tipped truck. It can be found behind these sandbags right here, so collect that one there. We now have Shadow Benefactor, which can be found in the garden pond. If you come underneath the bridge, just like the troll you are, you can collect it right here from the corner. Continuing, we have a Shem's Volley, which can be found in the library if you head upstairs, and it's found next to this box on this cabinet in front of the zombie barrier, so grab that one there. For Thesis Statement, it can be found on the west balcony in front of the tree on the circular wall encasing it, so you can grab that there. Connecting to Modern Warfare Zombies, we have Serpent Mound. This can be found if you head into the supply depot and then go into the armory, of course where you get the Mark II, and it can be found before all of these pieces of equipment just down here on the footrest, so you can grab that one there. Moving along, we now have the documents. Regretfully Yours can be found just in front of where Elemental Pop is. If you come into the study, there is a bookshelf here and you can collect it from the top shelf right over here. Grab that one there. We now have My Warheads, those goddamn warheads. This can be found found in the garden pond once again. And in order to get this one, you need to break open this wooden plank, and luckily the game spawns in a tomahawk right next to it, so you can collect that and throw it at it to go ahead and grab. You can also just get a combat axe another way or have it on your loadout. Furthermore, we have the monstrous proposal piece of intel, and you get this for doing the sleepwalking side Easter egg, which you can also get a bunch of loot from. So this is how you do this Easter egg. So in order to do this, the first thing you need to do is you need to progress onto round 11. You cannot do it any earlier than this. Once you are on round 11, head to the study and interact with this grandfather clock. And you can only do this on round 11 specifically, and you now need to progress to round 12, and you must be lying inside of Richtofen's bed as the round is transitioning. So be here ahead of time. I guess you can survive the whole round in the bed if you want, but come and lie down in the bed. And as the round changes from 11 to 12, a little bit into the start of the round, the screen will then fade to black after you've been sat here for a little bit, and then you'll come back into the game. You have fallen asleep. Maya gives a line here saying, whose bed is this? It is Richtofen's bed, because obviously it's the director's quarters from the Liberty Falls intro cutscene. And the game will then give you a path that you need to follow. Now, you must crouch walk as you are doing this. You shouldn't run at all, and you just need to walk slowly, as there's going to be all of these zombies that are asleep that you essentially just need to traverse through carefully without waking them up. So don't bump into them, don't disturb them. There's footprints on the ground guiding you where you need to go, and all of the zombies' eyes will be purple. And right at the end of the path, there is a chest here. However, you won't be able to open it as it is locked, and in order to gain access to it, you just need to look through all of the zombies that you have come through, as all of them but one just have white Z's coming out of their heads. But there's going to be one that's different, and instead, one zombie is going to have different colored Z's coming out of their head instead of just the regular white ones. So you know this is the one to target. So for example, in this game, I found it within the study, an armored zombie right here. And once you've managed to locate this zombie, there are two ways to get the loot. However, one way gives you much better loot, which is to simply come up to the zombie and you can grab the key from it without disturbing it. And then if you come back to the loot crate, it'll be a larger loot crate and you can get all of your goods. However, the other way is you can just kill the zombie and steal the key from it, and then the loot crate shrinks and it's smaller and your loot won't be as good. So that's definitely not the recommended thing to do. And this is a reference to 10, 11, 12, the intel from Sam describing the day Weaver and her contributed to Richtofen's family's deaths. Most likely Richtofen was lying in bed during these hours, the time the hit happened. He woke up in time though to fight off Weaver, but his family were in another room upstairs probably, and ended up getting burnt in the crossfire. Hopefully this guide has been useful. That's all of the documents out of the way. We now have the artifacts. So the first one is Richtofen's not safe for work DVDs rentals, which can be found obviously in his bedroom in the director's quarters. If you come into his bed, it can be found right there. This dude's just fapping all day, lonely since his family went. The next artifact is of course the Raygun Mark II, and you can get this by doing the free Raygun Mark II side Easter egg within the armory. This is the only way you get it. You don't get this artifact from getting it from the mystery box. So this is how you get the free Mark II. So the first thing you need to do is repair the elevator that the game guides you towards to get down to the Sam room by where Pack-a-Punch is. There's a guide in the description if for some reason you need one. Now that you're in the mainframe area, if you make your way to round 10, there'll be a technician zombie that will spawn in, and when you kill it, it will drop a floppy disk that you need to pick up. After which, make your way over to the east foyer, and there's some computers here that you can interact with. And it will begin printing out a Project Janus message. During this, you're going to have a little bit of a lockdown here. You won't be trapped in, but there'll be vermin and parasites that will start spawning in, so be wary of them, and simply survive whilst it is printing. Once it's done printing, you are then able to interact with it, and it will display a message, and this message is from Blanchard, of which there'll be a 4-letter word in it that is all in capitals. It won't be the same every single game. However, in this game in particular, it's spelled worm. So write down whatever word it is, or take a screenshot, or have a friend remember it for you. Whatever the case may be, you need to remember it. After you've remembered the word, you need to head over to the nursery, where you'll see a blackboard here, and on the blackboard is going to be a bit of a puzzle that you need to work out, as you need to get a number code derived from the word. So on the blackboard, there's all of these different clusters of different letters, and essentially what you need to do do is locate each different letter in order of the word and note down how many letters are in the cluster to be able to get the sequence. So for the first character, we have a W, and it's in a collection of 7 characters, so that's the first number. The second letter is O, which is in a group of 6 letters, so that's the second number. R is then in a cluster of 7 letters, so that's the third number. And fourth and finally, M is just there alone, so it's just 1. So the code in my game was 7671, but like I said, it's going to be different every single game. You might have a different word, or if you still have worm, it might be in a different set of clusters. After you've worked out the code, write it down somewhere, or again, remember it, or have a friend remember it for you. Whatever the case may be, you need to remember this code. After which, head over to the service tunnel, and you'll see that there's a doppelgas behind this locked room, and it's just trapped within, which is quite funny. You can then go over to the number pad and input a code, so input the numbers you worked out. Like I said, in this case, it's 7671, but it'll likely be different for you. After which, the door will begin opening, there'll be a bunch of ghast, and you just need to kill this doppelgast, after which it'll drop his severed arm, which you can press square X or F to pick up. Now, if you then head to the back of the service tunnel, come through to the supply depot where there is the armory, and you can enter the armory, and you've probably already entered here and seen the Raygun Mark II in the back here and not really known how to get it. Well, this is how you get it. Now you can go in and go ahead and grab yourself the Raygun Mark II. It's the standard version, the good old trusty Mark II. I'm so glad that it's back, and I can't wait for it to be added to the other maps as well. In this video's description, I will have guides for all 3 of the different Mark II variants. This one's epic. We now have the Z-Rex Tooth, and this can obviously be done for defeating the Z-Rex, the final boss fight for the main quest. If you don't know how to do the main quest, I will have a guide linked in the description once it is live. You don't need to pick anything up, you'll just obtain it automatically as soon as it's defeated. Speaking of the main quest, for the hip flask, you once again need to do the main Easter egg, so obviously you're going to have to do it for the tooth anyways, and you get this from the overlook right here in the bar during the main quest. Again, I'll have that linked in the description for you. There's another one you need to do the main quest, which is the nuclear inspection that can be found in the library in this secret room, saying inspection failed, which is about Janus Towers DLC 4, the nuclear power plant, so you can grab that there. There's another one you need to do the main quest for, which is the antler carvings that can be found in the safe. This is the horn for the central artifact that we learned about, obviously, on the tomb. You can grab that there. In addition, we have the deed of sale intel, and in order to do this, you need to do the jump scare side Easter egg, where you can get a bunch of awesome loot as well in this cabinet, but obviously you get the intel as well. So this is how you actually do this Easter egg. First of all, you need to have the thermal scope on any weapon in the game. Obviously, it's the easiest if you apply it to your loadout, but it's not necessary. After which, you need to simply progress in your game, I believe to round 13, and you simply need to be on the lookout for some blinking red eyes in one of these windows. After which, simply scope in to look at it, and there'll be a creepy entity, and when you look at it with a thermal scope, it'll disappear and it'll spawn in another location. After 20-30 seconds or so later, so just keep training the zombies around this area and be on the lookout for its location. Keep checking all of the windows, so keep looking around, and eventually you will locate it again. Once again, when you look at it with the thermal scope, it'll disappear. You then need to repeat this for a 3rd time, so just wait for it to spawn in once again and keep waiting around until you manage to locate it again. Once you do, obviously just look at it again with the thermal scope and it'll disappear. And penultimately, you need to do this again for a 4th time, but this is going to be the last time it's going to be random. So once again, just keep waiting until it spawns in again, and once it does, look at it with the thermal scope and it will disappear. So finally, for the 5th time, the woman is now always going to spawn in these windows above the balcony, so come over and look at her again, and after which she will disappear for the last time. Now finally, after that, you can run inside the nursery into the mansion itself and come over to this mirror by the bed and interact with the mirror, and you'll get jump scared by this creepy woman. That I guess was the woman that was in the windows that we were chasing down. I don't know who this creepy girl is. It kind of looks like a child with sharp teeth. But anyways, after you've done this, you can then interact to open up the drawers to get your loot. It'll say open to get your rewards from the antique mirror. This woman, I feel, has to be significant to the lore. I don't know if it's meant to be Richthofen's wife or something, or who. Anyways, after you open it up, you can get all of your loot, and you can get the deed of sale intel that I mentioned before. In this case, I drink quick revive. Penultimately, we have the unwelcome welcome guest intel, which you can see on the TAC map on screen. It can be found in the service tunnel, and you need to have a Semtex, so either have it on your loadout, get one from a zombie or loot, or craft it, and you just need to throw it in the back of this truck here, and it'll explode, giving you the document on the ground that you can then collect. And finally, we have the family portrait, drawn by Richthofen's son himself about the time his family died thanks to Weaver, and this can be found if you come through the southwest balcony into the nursery, and you can go ahead and collect that there. Anyways, that's all of the intel for Shattered Vale. I have guides on the other maps as well that I'll leave a link to in the description if you still need any help with the prior maps. Plenty more videos to come. I hope this has helped. Bye.